Welcome to Module 4 of the PreseMaker training series. This module is a professional guide to setting up AI providers, managing API keys, and diagnosing generation issues within PreseMaker. We'll walk through how PreseMaker works with AI providers, how to obtain and enter your API keys, how the active AI provider setting functions, how to use the prompt button effectively, and what to do when generation fails. By the end of this module, you'll have a clear and practical understanding of every aspect of AI provider configuration in PreseMaker. PreseMaker integrates with 4 AI providers to power its course-building workflow: Claude by Anthropic, Gemini by Google, GPT-4o by OpenAI, and Mistral AI. All AI work within the application is text-based, meaning there are no image or vision requests involved. When you enter an API key for any of these providers, PreseMaker encrypts it and stores it locally on your machine. A single drop-down in the settings area, called the Active AI Provider, controls which provider handles every task in the application. The design is intentionally unified, so there is no mechanism to route different tasks to different providers. Whichever provider you select applies across the board. PreseMaker supports exactly 4 AI providers, each representing a distinct commercial AI service. Claude, developed by Anthropic, is known for its strong conversational abilities and instruction-following capabilities. Gemini is Google's large language model, designed with multimodal features in mind. GPT-4o is OpenAI's high-performance text model, offering strong general-purpose capabilities, and Mistral AI rounds out the 4 with efficient, open-weight language models that are well regarded for their performance relative to their size. One important point to understand is that each of these providers operates independently, which means you need to obtain an API key directly from whichever provider you intend to use. These keys are unique to each provider's platform and are not interchangeable, so if you decide to switch providers, you will need a separate key for that service. To start using AI features in PreseMaker, you need to obtain an API key from at least one of the supported providers. The process begins by visiting your chosen provider's developer platform and creating an account if you don't already have one. From there, you generate an API key through that platform's interface. Once you have your key, open PreseMaker's settings panel and enter it into the field that corresponds to your provider. Each provider has its own dedicated field in settings, so the key is always associated with the correct service. The good news is that you don't need to set up all 4 providers to get started. A single valid key from just one provider is all that's required to unlock the full set of AI features in PreseMaker. Security is a core consideration in how PreseMaker handles API keys. Every key you enter is immediately encrypted using Windows Data Protection API, commonly known as DPAPI. This means your key is protected at rest on your local machine and cannot be read by other applications or users without the appropriate credentials. Equally important is what PreseMaker does not do with your keys. They are never stored inside course files, never embedded in exported content, and never transmitted to any external server or repository. Your API credentials stay entirely on your machine, keeping them local and private at all times. The Active AI Provider is a single drop-down control found in PreseMaker's settings panel. Whichever provider you select from that drop-down becomes responsible for every AI-driven task in the application. Whether that's generating course outlines, writing quiz questions, or producing narration scripts, everything runs through that one selected provider simultaneously. So there's no mixing and matching between providers for different tasks. You can switch providers at any time simply by choosing a different option from the drop-down. However, before making that switch, the provider you select must already have a valid API key entered in your settings. Without that key in place, the provider won't be able to function, and it's worth emphasizing that this setting applies universally across the entire application with no exceptions. Every generation task, regardless of what it is, will use whichever provider is currently active. The prompt button is a transparency and diagnostic tool built directly into PreseMaker. When you click it, you can see the exact text that will be sent or has already been sent to your active AI provider. You can use it before generation begins or while generation is in progress, giving you a clear view of what the AI is actually receiving as input. This is especially useful when AI output does not match your expectations. Rather than guessing what went wrong, you can inspect the prompt itself and determine whether the problem originated on the input side. If the prompt looks correct, you know the issue is elsewhere. If it does not, you have a clear starting point for making corrections. All requests in PreseMaker are text-based, so every prompt you inspect will be a plain text request. There are no image or vision-based requests to account for. And because PreseMaker works with a single active provider at any given time, the prompt you view is always destined for that one selected provider. There is no ambiguity about where the request is going, which makes the prompt button a reliable and straightforward diagnostic tool whenever something unexpected comes out of the AI. The prompt button is a practical tool you will reach for in several different situations. Before you commit to a full generation, you can use it to inspect the prompt and confirm that your instructions are accurate and complete. This saves time by catching any input problems before the AI provider ever receives the request. When generation has already run and the results are not what you expected, the prompt button becomes a valuable troubleshooting tool. By reviewing the prompt that was actually sent, you can quickly determine whether the problem originated on the input side. If the prompt looks correct and well-formed, that tells you the issue likely lies in how the provider responded, rather than in how PreseMaker constructed the request. That distinction matters because it points you toward the right solution much faster. Beyond troubleshooting, the prompt button also helps you understand how PreseMaker structures its AI requests in the first place. For users who want to learn more about what is happening behind the scenes, or who are doing quality assurance work, being able to see the fully constructed prompt provides useful insight into the system's logic. In short, it gives you visibility and control at a critical point in the generation process. When a generation failure occurs in PreseMaker, it means a request was sent to the active AI provider, but a successful response was never received. Every failure you encounter will trace back to one of three root causes, and knowing them helps you move quickly to a fix. The most common cause is a problem with the API key itself. This could mean the key was never entered, was typed incorrectly, or has been revoked by the provider since it was added. The second most common cause is simply having the wrong provider selected as active in your settings, meaning requests are being sent to a provider whose key has not been configured. And the third category covers issues on the provider's side, such as a service outage, rate limiting due to too many requests in a short period, or quota exhaustion where your usage allowance has been reached. Keeping these three categories in mind gives you a clear diagnostic path. Start with your API key, then check which provider is active. And if both of those look correct, the issue is likely on the provider's end and may resolve on its own. When a generation failure occurs, resolving it efficiently comes down to following a consistent diagnostic sequence. The first thing to do is open Settings and confirm which provider is currently set as active. This is actually the most common oversight. Users sometimes assume a particular provider is selected when another one is active, or no valid provider is configured at all. Once you've confirmed the active provider, the next step is to verify that a valid API key for that provider has actually been entered. A missing or malformed key will cause generation to fail immediately. If the key appears to be in place but failures are still happening, the issue may not be on your end at all. Visit the provider's status page or developer dashboard to check for reported outages, rate limiting, or quota exhaustion. These are all platform-side conditions that can interrupt generation without any change on your part. From there, the fix is straightforward. If the key is the problem, re-enter it carefully or regenerate a new one from your provider account and paste it into settings. If the problem is on the provider's side and they're experiencing an outage or you've hit a usage limit, simply switch the active provider to one that is currently functioning. No other changes to the application are needed. Just update the active provider and generation should resume normally. Let's bring everything together. PreseMaker integrates with 4 AI providers: Claude, Gemini, GPT-4o, and Mistral AI, and uses them exclusively for text-based generation. There is no AI involvement in image or media handling, only the text tasks you initiate within the application. Your API keys are encrypted using Windows DP API and stored locally on your machine. They never appear in course files, and they are never transmitted to any external system outside of the provider's own API call. That local encryption layer is what keeps your credentials protected. All AI tasks in PreseMaker are controlled by a single active AI provider setting. There is no per-task routing, meaning the application does not automatically switch between providers depending on what you are doing. Whatever provider you have selected in settings handles everything, so choosing the right one before you begin is essential. The prompt button is your most valuable tool when something does not work as expected. It lets you inspect exactly what input is being sent to the AI, which helps you quickly identify whether the issue is with your content, your configuration, or something on the provider's end. When failures do occur, the troubleshooting path is straightforward. Start by confirming your active provider is correctly selected, then verify the associated API key is valid and active. If everything on the PreseMaker side looks correct, check the provider's own platform for outages or account issues. With these fundamentals in place, you now have everything you need to confidently configure and manage AI providers in PreseMaker. Thank you for watching.